A long, long time ago, in a galaxy sadly still ours, Ubisoft used to be an actually great company. It was respected, it made good games, it had a good reputation, and a lot of good things, honestly. And that's primarily because Ubisoft had talent. This is a thing I have been saying for a while now, that all of the companies of old had talent. They had people who wanted to make things. They had people who knew how to make things. And they did not have so many shareholders and layers of useless bureaucracy. But mostly it was obviously about talent. And nowadays, Ubisoft has no talent. BioWare has no talent. Blizzard has no talent. So many companies. I don't have enough hands and fingers to count them all. Have absolutely no talent, and now they're collapsing. And a lot of these companies that previously made good things, the people with talent are going away and making new companies. And well, turns out, by the way, this is exactly the situation that kind of happened with the Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It truly is amazing.
So many of you will know that one game that's been taking the world by a storm is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Here's a glimpse of what the title looks like. It is absolutely gorgeous.
World is full of wonders.
Yet everywhere we go, we walk with death.
Do you mean we're the only ones left?
Okay, listen, I'm not saying this game is successful because Luna has, it's naked feet for literally no reason, just because reasons, and that we have a hot 20-year-old, absolutely deliciously petite redhead in this game. I'm not saying that's what makes it successful, but I think it very much is. Honestly, the game doesn't look that, but you show me this and I'm like looking at, wow, that's a whole lot of 2 and 3 and 4 damage. That doesn't honestly look that impressive, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it.
Yeah, pretty good.
So what is Clair Obscur Expedition 33? Well, it is
Though I will say, I still don't think Clair Obscur is the best looking game. Okay, it has its moments for sure, but in general, I would not say that it's actually the best looking game ever. But that's maybe just personal preference. A lot of people are saying that they do think it looks really, really good.
is French development studio Sandfall Interactive's take on a JRPG. And you can see right here the universal acclaim that it has garnered across both critics and players alike, with a 92% review score on Metacritic across 67 critic reviews. And look at the user score here from over 8,000 user ratings, a 9.7. That may very well be the highest user score on Metacritic, and that's by a long shot. The only other title that comes close is The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC, whose user score is sitting at a 9.3. Even
Wow.
Baldur's Gate 3's user score is sitting at a 9.2. And that's not to imply that user score is the universal sign of which game is superior to what. All I'm saying
It definitely is. And by the way, I wanted to pause and say this at the start, but Yong is like, the critic score is high. For him, critic score matters more than user score because, again, he is one of those idiots in the industry who's reaping benefits from being a voice actor, even though he is an absolute talentless hack that ruins games when he does voice acting. So he cares more about the critic score because the user score is always going to be negative towards him because he's just bad at his job. Man, remember that time when with the new Yakuza people were unhappy with the Young because he's trash at his job? Ah, remember that situation? How he completely ignored everything and said just critics matter. It was great. It was great.
saying is for a user score to be at 9.7 on Metacritic, that is actually insane, and that requires a whole lot of universal love from the players. And where does that universal love come from? Well, aside from the fact that it executes its various facets, near flawlessly, the visuals are incredible, the presentation is top notch, the music is just on a whole other world, the gameplay is phenomenal and addicting, the story is engaging, aesthetically it is really unique with a lot of French motifs.
So first of all, is this like a review? Every time we watch a Yong video and it's like a review-esque type of thing and where he's glazing a game, even if it deserves to be glazed, by the way. And again, we're gonna keep glazing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 because it's a good game. It does a lot of things that we wanted to do. It's great. Why would we not reward it for being good? So that's a thing, by the way. But again, the fact that Yong is just giving you the classic rundown, oh, the graphics are good, oh, the characters are good, oh, the story is good, that none of this stands out to him, makes me always... The last time we saw this, I thought that Yong didn't actually play the game, that he didn't even see anyone play the game. Because if you have played the game and if you have liked it, there's two things that you're going to be talking about, and that is not the fucking world and how it looks, okay? It's going to be the story, and it's going to be the combat. How all of that interacts. Well, they don't interact with, but you get the point. Yeah, and Yong, I think these videos are just Yong's attempt to be like, yeah, free money.
Motifs, so on and so forth. The list goes on, but
and the French motifs, like fucking what? The Eiffel Tower? Lumiere? What are the He doesn't even know what these magical French motifs are.
The thing that I think really kind of makes Expedition 33 special is how it takes the JRPG genre and pushes it forward. It actually evolves the formula. A lot of people kind of had this mentality of like, well, JRPGs, the turn-based JRPGs, that's more for old school gamers. That genre is kind of dying. But what Clair Obscur Expedition 33 proved is that that is not the case at all. You just need to take the JRPG genre and bring a fresh new take to it with some evolutions to the formula. And so they just kind of breathe new life in.
None of this is unique, by the way. I have heard opinions like this before. None of this is true. Clair Expedition 33 has literally not pushed the format forward in any way. Okay? It still has a world that you can explore, you can level up it, you can grind mobs with like any other JRPG. It still has bosses that you can find, like literally any JRPG or Final Fantasy, the old versions of those games, by the way. And the combat is not even anything new because other games have had this perfect timing system. It's not new in the slightest. The Clair Obscur did absolutely nothing new. Okay? That doesn't detract, by the way, from how good the game is. I'm just saying, Clair Obscur has objectively done not a single innovative thing. It's just a good game.
Into turn-based JRPG and kind of brought it into the mainstream. It basically took a quote-unquote dying genre or a genre that was showing its age and made it new all over again. And that is really something special that...
Yeah, I mean, Yong Yea is just complete...
requires just a level of passion, but also a level of creativity and forward thinking that is on full display with this title. And the love has been universal indeed, and that is further highlighted by the title sales, managing to achieve 1 million copies sold in just 3 days. Keep in mind that this is Sandfall Interactive's first game. It is a brand new IP, and it's a JRPG or a turn-based style RPG. And for a game like this to do this well under the circumstances, it is unprecedented. This is a game whose first week on sale exceeded those.
It's not unprecedented also. All the things that he's saying are nice, but they're not true.
Of JRPGs from major companies like Square Enix and Atlas. For example, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Metaphor Refantatio were both beaten by Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Word of mouth very rapidly spread about this game when it started getting tens everywhere when...
No, because it just has a great story.
A bunch of outlets and content creators started calling it essentially their frontrunner for Game of the Year. And this is right now the highest rated game of 2025. So pretty insane.
By the way, about that, this was a problem because the studio did get people to promote it, and it got the fucking worst people to promote it. The people who were reviewing the game, Mr. Matty Plays, Skill Up, Luke Steffens, Extra Life. They are notorious shills. People literally have been commenting and talking about how actually much that damaged the game. Because if I see fucking Shill Up posted, oh, this game is fantastic, I got an early copy of it to review for you, I know it's gonna be a bunch of fucking lies, probably. Especially if someone like Luke Steffens fucking reviews the game and says, oh, this is Game of the Year. Fuck no. You just got paid, buddy. You just got paid and everyone knows it. All of these early reviews that called it Game of the Year perfection and blah 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 were incredibly bad. They were incredibly bad. They did not talk about anything pretty much but the combat and say, oh, perfect timing, parrying hard. That's it. It really damaged the game. A lot of people did not buy it because of these known lying shills, specifically. Just thinking that doing reviews about it. It was pretty bad.
Stuff. And looking at Steam charts, you'll find an all-time peak concurrent player number of over 145,000, and that's a number that's grown since its release. So
yeah, exactly. It's not the crazy part is it's not going down. That is the crazy part.
It started with a peak of like 95,000, then at 117,000, then 129,000. It's only recently that it's garnered 145,000 players. So the player base for this title is actually growing, which is a really good sign, especially for a single-player experience. These are Steam numbers that are far more substantial than the likes of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which peaked at over 40,000 players, and even Metaphor Refuntatio, which peaked at over or almost 86,000 players. The performance of Clair Obscur is more in line with the likes of Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, because, to be honest, there's nothing really you can say about Metaphor. You can just say, yeah, it's a good game that makes you kind of think about stuff and kind of question it. But questioning and thinking about stuff is a less entertaining thing for people than a huge twist or, unexpected and big explodey thing. So that's just also reality.
Oblivion Remastered, and there's a very established IP. Looking at daily numbers, you can see that a lot of people are coming back to Expedition 33, with a current 24-hour peak for Expedition 33 being at almost 141,000 players, which is in line with Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster's almost 142,000 players. So we've got a brand new game from a brand new IP from a brand new studio whose level of critical acclaim is very high, whose reception from customers is incredibly positive, whose sales have been incredibly high, whose level of engagement is incredibly high. This is a runaway success. You've even got the president of France who acknowledged the success of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 as a point of pride for all of France, essentially.
Oh shit, Macron said something good. Nice.
For bringing French game development into the forefront. Responding to a social media post from the Expedition 33 team, the French president said 1 million copies sold and currently one of the highest rated games in history. And yes, it's French, Macron wrote. Congratulations to Sandfall Interactive and all the creators of Expedition 33. You are a shining example of French audacity and creativity. Now, even more fascinating is the story behind
Get stabbed.
How Expedition 33 got made. For those who don't know, Sandfall Interactive is comprised of many former Ubisoft developers. In fact, there's a development team that was established by ex-Ubisoft devs, namely Guillaume Broche. I hope I'm pronouncing.
Oh yeah, we watched Luke Steffens talk about this, and he was like, how can these people in a gaming company that have nothing to do with making the game but making financial decisions not be gamers and come from a background of making a Tesla, not the Tesla, but making a bold alternative in France. God, that was so goddamn stupid.
Announcing that, right, who's the CEO and creative director of his development studio, Sandfall Interactive. And once upon a time, Guillaume worked as associate producer and narrative lead at Ubisoft on AAA titles before founding Sandfall Interactive. And right here we have Tom Guillermin, who's another former Ubisoft developer, specifically having done gameplay programming at Ubisoft before joining this indie studio. And you can see right here that this is actually a fairly small team overall, comprised of roughly a little over 30 members. So the fact that such a small team got to make a game like
Wait, is this a different picture? Or did we previously see the wrong picture? Because, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 5 women. Oh no, that's minus ESG score. Oh no.
Expedition 33 is something that they should be extremely proud of, because Expedition 33 feels like a game that was made by hundreds upon hundreds of developers. It is at a level of quality that feels like this was one of those like super high budget AAA games, but this turned out to be a game that was reasonably scaled and reasonably budgeted with an agile, kind of smallish team that were able to push out what many consider to be a masterpiece. Now, recently, news outlet BBC did an interview with the lead of Expedition 33 and its development studio, Sandfall Interactive, Guillaume Broche, and he was asked essentially how Expedition 33 came about, what's the history behind how he came to establish this studio, and one of the first things he said is apparently that it all began with him being bored in their job and wanting to do something different, referring to his job at Ubisoft and being bored of the fact that the projects that higher-ups approve and greenlight and assign were just not that fun to create. He wanted to make what he wanted to make. He wanted to essentially pursue a passion project, and that's kind of not what you generally see at the highest levels of AAA companies, who do not pursue passion projects. They pursue trend-chasing titles, trend-chasing genres. They pursue things that market research deemed to be very monetizable, rather.
He does not understand Yong Yea currently does not understand the difference between a person's personal wants and a company's wants, but that's okay. I do not expect a lot from Yong, honestly.
Rather than aiming to give developers the room and the tools to cook something that is truly unique based on just passionate ideas.
But at least he said the zoomer relativity word cook, so I guess it's saved, right?
That they have. And so, yeah, he was bored, and so he left Ubisoft, and the end result is that he kind of put Ubisoft to shame by making this masterpiece that is receiving a level of acclaim, a level of engagement, a level of financial success that Ubisoft could really use. Assassin's Creed Shadows did sell well, as many expected, but generally Ubisoft has had failure after failure, and that's why they're kind of in the precarious position that they are, with their stock price being the lowest it's ever been. They've still had to deal with a lot of canceled projects or delayed projects and layoffs and studio shutdowns, because a lot of their releases just aren't as exciting anymore. And not to mention that the budget for a lot of those AAA games made by companies like Ubisoft are so overblown that they require a ridiculous amount of sales for them to be considered a success. Whereas something like Expedition 33, made by a smaller team, its budget was nothing ridiculous. It was nothing untenable. The scale of what they made was...
Oh, my dude. Expedition's 33 budget was ridiculous. It was 5.5 million. That is an absolutely... No one would ever expect anything to be made for that price with a context like this.
Within reason. And so when you look at what Sandfall Interactive made with Expedition 33, when you look at how they've essentially proved that you don't need a massive budget and a massive team to create something that exudes AAA and is able to push the boundaries of a genre like a JRPG to the point where it becomes a mainstream success. When you see this smaller...
Yeah, again, I'm pretty sure he hasn't even played it, but that's fine. Anyway, that was Yong Yea. I guess it's true. To make good game and have talent and things come. Anyway, bye!